Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Our next unit on Geo Apps is actually a review of algebra. We're going to talk about factoring. And today in particular, we're going to be talking about factoring a GCF. So if you remember from Algebra 1, I want to factor 2x squared minus 4x. Well, the first thing I need to do, and you don't have to write this down, I'm going to just for the sake of notes, is you have to figure out what the GCF is. So what I like to do is I like to take a look at the numbers and see what the largest number that goes into both of those is. So in this case, it's going to be 2. Then I take a look at the variables. Now, the GCF of the variables is going to be, now GCF, remember, stands for greatest common factor. So they both, or all three terms, have to have the variable. So they both have an x. We're going to take the one with the lowest exponent. So now what I do to factor this expression is I take that GCF and I put it outside a set of parentheses. Now, what goes inside the parentheses is what I get when I divide both terms by that GCF. So what that's going to give me here is an x, and what that's going to give me here is just 2. So the answer to this problem is 2x times x minus 2. So that's what you would write down for your solution. Now, if you wanted to check this quickly, you could by now distributing to see what you would get. So 2x times x is going to be 2x squared, and 2x times 2 is going to be 4x. So what you would do then is you would compare that 2x squared minus 4x with the original problem, and yes, you can see that those two are the same, so we indeed factored this correctly. All right, let's try a few more. All right, so for this one here, my GCF, again, you don't need to write this down, I'm just showing you where I'm getting it from. I'm going to take those two numbers. What number goes into both 3 and 12? Well, 3 does. Then I took a look at the variables. N squared and n, they both have an n. The lowest exponent is n to the first. And they both have an m. So that's going to be the GCF. So now what I do is I write down 3nm and a set of parentheses. Now I divide this by 3nm, and I divide that one by 3nm. 3 divided by 3 is just 1. N squared divided by n is just n. The m's cancel. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. N divided by n cancels. M divided by m cancels. And here is my final answer. I'm not going to take the time to distribute this. You can do it on your own and verify that that does indeed work. All right, next one. GCF. I've got 5 and a 15, so the biggest number that goes into both of those is 5. X squared here, x there. So x would be the greatest common factor. Z squared and z cubed. So z squared. Remember, we take the variable with the smallest exponent. So I'm going to take that, 5xz squared, right outside the parentheses. And what's going to go inside is what you get when you divide both by 5xz squared. All right, so what do we get here? We get 5 divided by 5 cancels. X squared divided by x is x. Z squared divided by z squared, that cancels and you just get a 1. Over here, I've got 15 divided by 5, that's 3. X cancels with the x in the denominator. Z cubed divided by z squared is just z. So here's my final answer. All right, a couple more, then you're going to do some on your own. All right, example 4. Again, just for the sake of the example, I'm going to write this down. I've got 20 and 12. Let's think about that for a second. 2 obviously goes into both. Let's keep going. 4 goes into both, and I think that's it. 6 goes into 12, but not 20. So 4 is going to be the biggest number that goes into both 20 and 12. I've got x squared, I've got an x, so I take the one with the lowest exponent. I've got an a to the 5th and an a squared. So a squared is going to be the GCF of the a's. So let's write that down. 4xa squared, and I've got parentheses. Divide both of these by 4xa squared. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. X squared divided by x is x. A to the 5th divided by a squared is a cubed. Minus 12 divided by 4 is 3. X divided by x is 1. A squared divided by a squared is 1. So this here is my factored solution. Okay, one more together. GCF. Now, if you notice here, we've got 3 terms. So now what we have to do is we have to go through and compare all 3, 15, 25, and 5. So the largest number that goes into all three of those is going to be a 5. I've got an a squared, an a here, and an a there. So I picked the one with the smallest exponent, which is going to be a. Then I've got a b to the 4th, and a b. So I picked the b, smallest exponent. So now I've got 5ab, and in parentheses now, I'm going to have 3 terms, and that's very important because watch what's going to happen here. Divide this by 5ab, divide this by 5ab, and divide that by 5ab. So 15 divided by 5, that's 3. A squared divided by a is a. B divided by b is 1, so we don't need to write that down. Minus 25 divided by 5 is 5. A divided by a is 1, so I don't need to write it down. B to the 4th divided by b is b cubed. But notice what happens here. 5 divided by 5 is 1. A divided by a is 1. B divided by b is 1. 5ab divided by 5ab is a 1. And you must put that in the parentheses. Sometimes what happens is students have a tendency just to cancel and they forget to put it in there. But remember, at the end, you must be able to distribute to get the original answer. And if you don't put a 1 in there, you're only going to end up with 2 terms. Okay, so now in these practice problems, what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video right now and try and factor this on your own. I'm going to write the solutions down. As soon as you get your answer, you're going to unpause it. So we're going to do that for the next 4 or 5 problems, and I'm going to go through here and you can compare your answer. The great thing about videos, you can rewind, you can try it again until you can get this. Okay, so pause your video, try it, and then come back. Okay, so the GCF for this, 8 and 4, the largest number that goes into both of those is 4. I've got an x cubed here, I've got an x squared there, so I need to pick the variable with the smallest exponent. That's going to be x squared. So now in my parentheses, I'm going to put whatever I get when I divide both of these by 4x squared. 8 divided by 4 is 2. X cubed divided by x squared is x, minus 4 divided by 4 is 1. X squared divided by x squared is 1. So if everything cancels, you have to put a 1 there. So your correct answer is 4x squared times 2x minus 1. Okay, same thing for this one. Please pause it, try it on your own, and then restart the video. Okay, so here I've got 6 and 9. GCF is going to be a 3. I've got a cubed and an a, so that gives me an a. I've got b squared and b, so I need to pick the b. Remember, we picked the variable with the smallest exponent because that's the most that it can have in common. So in the parentheses now, I'm divide both of these by 3ab. And you just go through and work this out. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. A cubed divided by a is a squared. B squared divided by b is just b. Plus 9 divided by 3 is 3. Notice the a's cancel, the b's cancel, so you're just going to have a 3 here. This is your completed answer. Please note you have to include the GCF as part of your answer. Sometimes what happens, I notice students go a little too fast and they just divide by the GCF and don't include that in the answer. But that's very important that you put that in the answer. Okay, next one here, a little bit more challenging. Pause the video and try this one on your own. Okay, so we've got 16, 8, and a 2. The GCF there is going to be 2. I'm going to write that down. I've got an x cubed, an x squared, and an x, so that's going to have an x. Now in the parentheses again, we divide all of these by 2x and put the result in the parentheses. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. X cubed over x is x squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X squared divided by x is x. And remember here, 2x divided by 2x is actually a 1. You must include that in the answer. All right, just a couple more. All right, so this one here, again, pause it, try it on your own, and then restart the video. Okay, so I've got a 10, a 5, and a 15. I think you guys can all agree 5 is the largest number that goes into all three of those. I've got an n cubed, an m squared, and an m, so I have to pick an m. N squared, n cubed, n. So the smallest exponent there is just 1, so it's going to be 5mn. That is going to be my GCF. That is what I'm going to divide all of these by. Okay, so 10 divided by 5 is 2. M cubed divided by m is m squared. N squared divided by n is just n. plus 5 divided by 5 is 1. M squared divided by M is just M. N cubed divided by N is N squared. Minus 15 divided by 5 is 3. And the M's cancel, the N's cancel. So here is my final answer. That's factored from the original trinomial. And our last one. Okay, pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back. Okay, so this one here, a little bit more challenging. I've got a 9, a 27, and an 18. And one trick that I kind of like to do when the numbers get a little bit bigger is I always try to see if the smallest number goes into all the others. So in this case, the smallest number is 9. Does 9 go into 27? Yes, it does 3 times. Is it going to 18? Yes. So the GCF is going to be 9. Now I've got an x to the 4th, an x to the 6th, and an x. So I'm just going to pick the x. Y cubed, a y, and a y. So again, I'm just going to pick the y. Remember, you pick the variable with the smallest exponent. So now let's divide by 9xy. And it's just a matter of working this out individually. 9 divided by 9 is 1. X to the 4th divided by x is x cubed. Y cubed divided by y is y squared. Minus 27 divided by 9 is 3. X to the 6th divided by x is x to the 5th. Y divided by y is 1. They cancel. And then here I've got 18 divided by 9, which is 2. X's cancel, y's cancel. So here's my final answer. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for following along here. You should now go to Delta Math. And when you have time, do the Delta Math assignment for Unit 11, Day 1. Thanks. And as usual, don't hesitate to contact me if you guys have any questions.